Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. We are back and we're doing our first kind of watch along thing. Still kind of waiting for the folks to show up for this. I'm currently in the middle of trying to sign in on Paramount Plus because I forgot today was a Golasso network. But it's going to be a fun one where we're going to have Orange County versus North Carolina FC. And we are going to have in the bottom, like right here, check this out, right for production. Bang, we have production value, people. In fact, I might even make this a little bit bigger, but we have production value. And we're going to have some more friends joining us along the way, as John does say that more folks are coming imminently. We also are going to be having some old friends of the USL show coming in, where it's going to be a really good time. I think you guys are absolutely going to enjoy the lineup we have coming. I think that it's going to be a fun day. So let's just go ahead, as my name is taking up the entire square. This is what you get with the live show. This is stuff that we do on the fly because I couldn't be bothered to do this early. I want to go ahead and show you guys something really fast, and that is, of course, our kit for that we're doing with Equip Studios. Check this out. I mean, my goodness, what a kit, by the way. Like this is perfection. So this kit is going to be our fundraiser for our trip up to Portland, Portland, Maine for July 25th. It is the Sound of the Forest kit where there's a long sleeve option, there's short sleeve options. It is $50 for short sleeve. It is 65 for the long sleeve. It's awesome. Seriously, check it out. You can buy pre-order, and it's already in the description if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you are watching this. It is already there. Check it out. You will not regret it. We have a friend. I have a friend who has joined me, Mr. Ryan Allen. How are you, Ryan? Oh, you're muted. Welcome back. Welcome back to podcasting.
Yeah, doing well. We're currently looking at the formal wear version of the USL show kit for this season. I will say I don't personally own any long sleeve kits, so maybe this will be the first time. I'm always more of a short sleeve kit person, especially both of us kind of living in the South here, or Satan's armpit, if you will.
Yeah, that's one thing that I never got the long kit thing. I never was super into it, but I started seeing a lot more of the collectors be really into it, and I was like, well, if the collectors are into it, so am I, right? That's
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was my thought processes.
it certainly feels like it kind of harkens back to an era of that, like during the 90s and early 2000s when people would wear the baggier kit designs and they would have the long sleeves with it as well. Oh, it reminds me of like Jurgen Klinsmann with Spurs. He would always wear kind of a long sleeve kit whenever he would do his kind of like chest slide celebration. But yeah, this is a fantastic kit. Get it customized and everything. I'm going to basically debate over the next week on what name and number I'll want to get on the back of this kit. But yeah, it's a fantastic design. Thank you so much to Equip Studios for making this. And yeah, looking forward to the NCFC Orange County match tonight.
Well, let's go ahead and move over to that, where we have our formation, and Andy King does mention that the formation is wild, where they are coming out with a 4-1-4-1. And I mean, it is weird for Orange County, but they kind of did this last week, right? Where they had Lyon McKinnon up top. It's good to see Kyle Scott is alive after taking a pretty nasty elbow to the face. I do think Kyra was suspended. So there's that if you're an Orange County fan.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how this one is going to open up. For full disclosure, for my wager on this match, I have North Carolina win or tie and over 1.5 goals for this. From my article, I had this to be both teams to score, so in essence, the same exact pick. But my one question with Orange County is how they'll fare, and just like everything else in USL, is just moving across the country. They haven't won a game against an Eastern Conference opponent away since June 2024, and that included a 6-0 loss to Charleston kind of in the interim of games since then. So it's always, I think, more challenging to go Western Conference to Eastern Conference, as we'll probably see with Monterey Bay against Rhode Island tomorrow, than it is for an Eastern Conference team to move to the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'm willing to agree with that. As we have kicked off, by the way, if you're someone who wants to just watch along right with us, we are currently at the 12th second. So, and we'll give you updates along the way. Because this is a live show format, obviously, this is not a podcast situation. We're not as structured. Like, there's going to be times of a little bit of silence. Hey, if this is an AMEA, that's the organization I work for music educators. This is an AMA situation where if you have any USL thoughts, if you have questions about us personally, this is the time, as North Carolina is getting a nice attack early on, a little bit of discombobulation and a shot pretty well wide for North Carolina, the first little bit of blood going on from Rafa.
Yeah, and not to be remiss for the evening, but we do actually have another USL match happening right now with Knoxville hosting Madison at the moment in USL 1 action. Knoxville with, I believe, their second match in their current brand new stadium. So that's also happening kind of on in background.
As we have a John Morsey. John, how are you?
Overwhelmed by a game on one side and many faces on the other. I gotta say it.
Yeah, I had to put it on my TV. I have moved from my normal podcasting area to just go sit in the living room because
Wise.
I have this is a fun fact about where I live. The living room doesn't have a single ceiling light. Like, there's no light in the living room.
Same here. It's all lamps.
Yeah, so I had to move our lamp that's usually right here, because they're in front of me, or else I would just look like I'm sitting in the dark, because I am.
Absolute problem.
I mean, I don't know. It was so bizarre because when you walk in, first off, we're in a tiny little place, and we have 3 doors all into the same room that all go outside.
Right.
3 separate doors that all go outside from the same room.
Too many.
Yes.
One might say. Yeah.
2 doors are less than 5 feet apart. Like, I can touch both doors with my hands. It's ridiculous. But the only light is a ridiculously low chandelier that I hit my head on every single day.
You have big person problems, though, in a way that I would not suffer from.
No, not at 5'6" for me.
I'm not that tall, but it is funny because my wife has never had that issue. Like, I just whenever I hit the area to go to our kitchen, I'm just hunkering down like this the entire time. And it's not a good situation. She's like, why are you walking like that? And I was like, started hitting my head.
John and I have the urban living in a major metropolitan area that we just have one door in and out of our apartments.
That is exactly right.
Yeah. So, John, by the way, how are you? Didn't really get into that.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Excited for because what people who are viewing at home might not know is that Kaylor has not told us timing of guests. We know kind of one person who might be popping in, but yeah, I'm excited to see where everything lands.
Yeah, I am also waiting on those guests to show up, to be fair. We have one friend, if you've been a long-time listener to the show, who lives out towards Sacramento, who will be on closer to the second half of the show. But 2 of them, one of them who lives in St. Louis, says he'd be on somewhat soon. And our East Coast friend, I thought he'd be on by now. I'll be completely honest. So But yeah, they will be coming on somewhat soon. So yeah, we got a question in, John. What do you think a full strength Orange County lineup looks like? Benazakar, McKinnon with Traeger and Zubak, or something else?
For me, I think the best version of this team has Zubak at striker and McKinnon coming off the left wing. I like the idea of doubling up on the scoring threats, but Ben Alcazar, I mean, he was almost playing ahead of Kyle Scott at times last time out. I'm curious to see if they use him that way again. He feels like he is technical enough and still responsible enough defensively that Partida, Ben Alcazar, Scott kind of has to be the midfield three for me. But I think the beauty of this Orange County team is they've got a million permutations. But yeah, Ben Alcazar midfield and then McKinnon, Zubak, Jameson feels like the front end that I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, I guess as we get a interesting like little moment for Orange County as they create really their first scoring threat of the night. What about this North Carolina team? I feel like this North Carolina side has flown a little bit under the radar all year long. They haven't really looked bad, but they haven't done anything spectacular yet this year, so they haven't really warranted major conversation. What do you really feel about them?
They feel like they've regressed somewhat meaningfully to me in terms of the style. And that's not like they were Barcelona knocking passes around last year. But if you look at the numbers, the long passing rates and the passing lengths, they've gotten much more direct. But without Ezra Armstrong and with Olex Anderson kind of in and out of the lineup, they don't really have the guys that are stretching the opposing back line and like opening up the space that would make that system work. And you see them come out today, at least in the first handful of possession sequences, just passing around with Mikey Maldonado. I'm curious if they lean in that direction more. But also, like, if you think back to early 2024, they were playing the youngsters a lot, like we're seeing with Vin Sundstrom today. They were still trying to figure out the identity. I kind of wonder if John Bradford, at some point in July, decides we're done with the experiments. We're going with a very set 11, and that improves things because this team and they're sitting in 5th place, so I'm being overly negative, but this team has been a bit disappointing as a watch for me.
As Dolabella just looks incredible. He had I don't think his teammate, I couldn't tell who that was, realized that he was wide open and on goal after his one-touch run. Dolabella felt like someone who took a little bit too long to be super involved in this team. Yeah. And I'm not sure if it's because he didn't get to training right on time. Oh, granted, I don't know. This is purely speculation. Like if he didn't get training with everybody else, or if Bradford was trying to stick with what he knew and add Dolabella over time. But it feels like such a no-brainer after being arguably the best player in League One last year.
I didn't even realize Evan Conway's not in the squad tonight. RIP.
Yeah, and it's interesting with this North Carolina team because if you look at the sides that they've beaten on the year, like they've got their first ever victory at Highmark Stadium against a pretty tough to beat in Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. They were able to beat Charleston Battery as well, who I think is a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference right now. But I really think they need to kind of like look at these next 4 games after this Orange County match as like Oakland at home. They travel to Richmond in the Jägermeister Cup. They have Hartford and Rhode Island back to back as like a chance to kind of like really prove that they belong kind of in this playoff picture. They were them and alongside Pittsburgh Riverhounds last year as the last few teams to sneak into the Eastern Conference playoffs. And this is like, that was kind of a bare minimum that we thought NCFC should be at this past season, and now we're kind of like raising the bar, raising our game, if you will, and expecting this team to be competing kind of in the midst of a very competitive Eastern Conference that already looks like they have a top 3 of Louisville, Detroit, and Charleston already kind of separating themselves from the pack and our people's champion.
Our people's champion. It just always makes me laugh. By the way, speaking of Loudoun, I know they kind of had their slip up versus Las Vegas. Do we feel like their start is real?
I mean, what are we defining as their start? Like, is Loudoun a team that will compete for a home playoff spot? I think so. Is Loudoun a team that will finish in the Players' Shield race alongside Louisville and Charleston? I don't think there's a prayer.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel as well. I feel like they are a top 4 team in the East, undoubtedly, but very intrigued to see how long it lasts, especially with what we've talked about with what's going on off the field with them, how long they can maintain at the level that they have been.
I mean, this is 6 wins from 8, which is by far their best start in club history. I mean, there were other like teams who didn't even start as MLS 2 teams who had like worse starts in club history up until now that Loudoun has basically kind of turned around with. So it will be interesting to see how they keep it up. But like as Phil said, it's lads. Let's kind of just play it out and see where Loudoun ends up. I will say this upcoming weekend against Lexington and then following that against Miami is going to be like I think it's really kind of delaying how much we are going to see from this Loudoun project. Like Lexington has been very much a team that's been underperforming, that's been not as what we think is up to snuff for a USL Championship side. Miami can turn it on any given night, but then like after that, they have Louisville in the Jägermeister Cup, they have Charleston, they have Detroit. 3 matches in a row, like that will kind of prove to us. Like I said, those are the 3 teams that are the current best sides in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. We're going to see if Loudoun's going to be among those sides, or if they go 0-3 in those matches, then yeah, we'll probably know where they truly fall.
You know, it's so funny because I'm trying to think of how to pace ourselves for the night because we have a lot of time to go over everything, right? There's something that you mentioned about this North Carolina team, John. This was on This League 2-3 weeks ago. You kind of mentioned that the USL championship has gone very direct, that it's top 5 out of 11.
5 of the most 11 direct teams ever with a small sample size,
Yes.
but are teams that are playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, and one of them is this North Carolina team. As Atletico Dallas is in the chat. Nice to see you. Welcome. Welcome to the world to you as well. But do you think that some of this, and you mentioned it on This League, so people should go check that out. It's a wonderful podcast. Really, seriously, go check it out. Shout out to Ryan. Not our Ryan, other Ryan.
You know what's confusing is doing podcasts with many Ryans. I'll tell you that.
But you know, he's mentioned that he thought North Carolina was one of those teams, and he was correct. But do you think that this shift to being very direct is a little bit of zigging while zagging, or is it just we have fast players go long?
It's a good question. I think that North Carolina looked at the makeup of this squad, looked at some of the players they got in the wide areas, and decided this is a better fit for us. Like, think about the composition of that front 3 last season. It was a lot of Conway. It was a lot of Louis Perez complementing Olex Anderson. Those are guys that can battle. Those are guys that can, and certainly in Anderson's case, get out on the run over the top, but they're not really as physical. Pedro Dolabella is somebody who loves those sorts of challenges. We've seen John Bradford kind of mix it up, occasionally kind of stacking his central midfield. I think it might be more he wants to experiment than he is entirely ripping up the blueprint, but it kind of follows the changing meta tactically across the league. So I don't know, like, I don't think he's copying anybody's homework, but I think a lot of managers just decided this is the best way to give ourselves an advantage given how things are shifting.
And John, you've mentioned it in previous episodes that there really isn't like a bad team in USL Championship right now. There's not that Texahoma equivalent in the league at the moment that like it really feels like, to kind of borrow a term from the NFL, that any team can win on any given Saturday, that it truly makes it tough to wager on, tough to predict. And it also, just from a neutral perspective, makes it more exciting to watch.
Yeah, as we are seeing a little bit of kind of back and forth filling each other out at the moment, this has been a interesting affair because North Carolina started very hot, but Orange County kind of rode the wave for the first, say, 5 to 8 minutes, which is kind of what you expect the home team to do. But now Orange County seems to have a little bit going forward as there's a shot. Whoa, what a save. Oh, my word. By the way, we are at the 14:55 second mark. If you are,
And if you're me, you are not there yet.
oh, you're about to see a good one.
Yeah. Jameson, I mean, he just made that kind of arcing run over the top and got called off. Similar, but in the final third there. Clearly, Orange County, I mean, they're pressing a bit, but they're willing to sit off a bit, try to hit McKinnon over the top, try to get Jameson activated in those seams behind or between the wingbacks and the center backs. Feels like it's going to pay off sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
As well, very interesting set piece. I might go back on my replay to watch that. That was intriguing.
Good luck with a Golazo stream on that one.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I am I've been very impressed these last few years where they've had Maguire, which sneakily this is one of the best goalkeeping matchups we have in this league of Shuttler versus Maguire. This is a good one. Maguire's been flying under the radar a good bit. He's not exactly a he's not like an intense shot stopper. He's a good shot stopper. He's not the best with the ball at his feet, but he's really good with the ball at his feet. He feels like the ideal jack of all trades that this league has to have. He may not be the master of any of it, but he's really freaking good at it. Same thing for Shuttler, by the way. Shuttler has improved a lot. There was 2 years ago where Orange County had the worst goalkeeping room in the league, and it was not close. And I cannot remember who was in that goalkeeping room. It was the guy who was like an MLS reserve guy. Who was that?
Wait, for NCFC?
No, this was for Orange County. Because Orange County went from Shuttler to there was another guy. And I can't remember who it was, but they were both miserably bad. And Shuttler has grown a lot since then. And I am surprised, frankly. There was always the little signs that there was a top-class goalkeeper in there, but it was just not showing up at all.
Abraham Romero?
No, Romero is
a youngin at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, there was somebody else. Cody Cropper. Thank you, Andy.
Cropper, great.
He
of Southampton fame at one point. I think. Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, Cropper, he was rough. And Shuttler was not ready to fill in for Cropper, who was bad, if that tells you where Shuttler was. And he has grown so much as a player. Obviously, he got the goal versus Sacramento last year, and I feel like that was kind of to steal one of the CBS slogans, his shining moment. But he was so much better than just that goal last year that I wish that people kind of kept watching because he was immense last year.
Bryce Jameson is being so rude to Finn Sundstrom. Like, the guy will not stop moving.
So, by the way, we have a chat for Instagram that I can always see the comments. So if I just start talking about random comments that I see, they don't show up for us on StreamYard, but I can see
Yeah.
it. We got one comment that just says Liam McKinnon scores again today. And then it says all you gotta do is ask the guy from Orange and Black Soccer Cast that can tell you these things. Yes, that's when we ask Andy. Thank you, Andy.
Do we have an Instagram?
We have an Instagram. I post all of our tactics show there. I just have to call you John
Wow.
Morsley there.
Wow.
Crazy. As a non-Instagram user, and this is news to me.
Yeah,
I have an Instagram and I haven't posted on it in like 2 years, and I only keep it because Spurs post their lineups like 10 seconds sooner there before any other social media site. But yeah, to have a little bit of North Carolina flavor, having my Appalachian FC pint glass, and because it's a weekend, I am actually having a beer in this glass.
good for
Let's
you.
go.
Love that. So by the way, as we are reaching the 20-minute mark now, I want to go ahead once again remind you guys that we are preparing to go up to Portland, Maine, and that you should definitely check out these kits that are at Eclipse Studios. They are $50 for the short sleeve, $65 for the long sleeve. The long sleeve is the way to go. It has the collar and everything. It is built to be a collector item. Seriously, though, help support Eclipse Studios. The kit feels amazing. It is one of the nicest feeling kits that I've had, and it's super affordable. They have super inclusive sizes from extra small up to 3XL, so that's good. So check that out. Oh, so we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. We had the one singular cup set this US Open Cup round where New York City FC got absolutely lily-balled. And I do love seeing people who are not in the USL react to playing Pittsburgh, because we're so just, the whole like we were molded by it, that whole thing. Like their first indoctrination of Lily Ball is always just a blast to see.
NYCFC completed more than 300 passes in the attacking half, and Pittsburgh still put more shots on goal than they did. Like, if that isn't Lily Ball, I don't know what is. And obviously, like, the late goal was amazing, but this was such a masterclass in Pittsburgh being the most organized defense you're ever going to see. I would have liked for more teams to repeat that, but alas, you can only get what you get. But yeah, cheering for the Riverhounds against the longest of odds in the rest of this tournament.
I mean, it's the first time they're playing an in-state team from Pennsylvania since I think they played Bethlehem Steel or the Harrisburg City Highlanders, if we're going to go throwback-wise. But yeah, I mean, the best stat, if we're going to be at least a boo MLS moment, is the fact that NYCFC 2 has the same number of Open Cup victories as NYCFC's first team. And NYCFC 2 only played in one tournament, and NYCFC has been in the league since 2016, I believe. And that's just, that's a big oof. But I mean, as John had posted on his Blue Sky earlier this week, I mean, Pope Lily Ball is very much something that a lot of USL fans are familiar with, either are disciples of or are at least very frustrated to play against. And it was just an absolute masterclass to see.
That Pope thing that broke containment in a way where somebody then sent it to me later is just like a standalone image, not knowing that I was the chef behind it, which isn't really what you want to see.
I will say this, and I know that we're not exactly a pro Twitter household anymore, but when the Pope was announced, it showed me that Twitter still has the juice, because I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah, every Chicago-centric thing I saw was just absolutely splendid.
The fact that he is still believing in God after the White Sox season from last year shows proof that it works in mysterious ways.
The fact that there are clips of him just like at the 2005 World Series and he was caught on the broadcast. That's unreal. And like this guy's the Pope now.
Do we think? I mean, here's the thing: did someone just watch the 2005 broadcast just to see, and then they're like, "Oh my God, it's him"?
That's a great question.
I mean, I remember watching that World Series. Like I stayed up for each of the games for some reason when I was in bed, and like I was like 8 or so at the time. Just I was a fan of baseball or so, and little did we know that not only was the Pope in attendance, but the more incredible news stories from that was that those teams would soon both be in the American League.
True. Oh wow, what a little bit of movement from North Carolina, as Jaden Cervania, he just got a yellow and then he just kicked the ball away. If we had a hardo ref, he might be seeing a second yellow for frustratingly kicking the ball away. I think it was this year or last year where they had gotten the whole like if the ball is kicked away at all, it's an immediate yellow. There was definitely like a point of emphasis on that. Let's glad that we didn't see that this time because that would be one of the dumbest second yellows I'd ever seen.
Koa Santos being a double wristband guy, by the way, one of my favorite soccer player looks.
I remember I went to a Colorado Springs LA Galaxy 2 match back in 2015 at the old Widener Field in Colorado Springs, and one of the Los Dos players, he wore he wrapped his hands and arms like he was Rocky Balboa about to put on boxing gloves, and it was the most hilarious thing to see sitting pitchside at that match.
So we are about 25 minutes in, and we get the comment NCFC doing a lot of jersey grabbing tonight. Yeah, a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of that. We also get the comment here. Jack Penniotu had a hilarious second yellow for Hartford Athletic a few weeks ago. Yeah, they. By the way, I don't even understand why that one was the second yellow. I just saw it, but I didn't really understand why. Was it? Did they think he was time wasting? What was that?
I truly have no idea. Probably an accumulation of annoying little things.
Sure.
If we're going to talk about just like really hilarious getting sent off moments, it basically reminds me of, and I believe I know the person who will be on later, but he used to have a cover photo on his Twitter of a person who was getting stretchered off, being shown a red card, and getting sent off in that same moment.
I love those. I love just random stuff like that. There was it was the Legion Red Wolves match a few weeks ago, and when the Red Wolves player got shown red, the ref had to wait for medical to walk away and for him to stand up to show him the red. So like he was on the ground for like 5 minutes, like rolling around in agony and pain. And the moment he stood up, he was just shown a red card. And I don't know why. That just really made me laugh. Like he just let him just die.
I will say my only gripe, and I know it's happened a bunch of times, but if players remove their shirt for a card or for celebration of goals and stuff, that shouldn't be a card.
I think was from FIFA about like political messages. I think it's like a ban on political messages, but they couldn't just say no politics. So they just made it you can't take your shirt off.
I still hate it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, that was a little bit closer than I thought. Orange County doing some interesting set pieces of setting up shop above the penalty area as like a little bunch and then just kind of spreading out. I've been seeing that a lot in a lot of these successful free kicks. Now, successful doesn't always mean goal. It at least like shots on target. And unless you go to zonal marking, I just don't know how you handle that if you're a team. because you definitely can't go man. You're going to get like a mesh concept in football, like a rub against each other, and you're just going to have wide open players. But if you go purely zonal, you're going to lose someone into some pocket of space. I just don't. I know you have to have several ideas, but I just don't know why every single team in the USL doesn't have that one in the back pocket somewhere. Just bunch up and run, because
it's hard to defend. Yeah.
Yes, it looks so hard to defend.
Yeah, it's flooding the zone very literally. You have to scheme for it, but it's very hard to do.
I will let him have a little bit of time to set up before I just make him jump in. But our first guest of the night is in the back room, hilariously close to the camera, by the way. And I know he can hear me, but I'll let him get set up. If you see me look like I am dying, my one of my cats is attacking my hand at the moment. I'm trying to make him stop, but he craves
cat on the stream.
The other one's sleeping. This other one craves violence at all times. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. All right. I'm adding Evan. Hi, Evan.
Hello, friends. Let's go, indeed.
Welcome back, Evan Villela.
Welcome back. Is it though? I feel like you were just like, oh, I feel obligated. I should probably tell him we're doing this.
No, definitely not.
Which is, I mean, it's fair.
Hey, you got us. You helped us get to this point. So
yeah. By leaving is the end of the sentence.
No, you know that's not true.
Yeah, but it's funnier if it is, right?
Evan, what have you been doing since you left the USL show? Like, what do you do with your life?
I don't have time. I mean, I guess you said that I could pop in for as long as I want, but I don't need all that. No, God. I've been watching everybody that I talked about from 2016 until whenever I left become significantly older than they were when I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
To varying levels of success and or still being around in the USL sphere, both as far as like players and front office staff and everything. So that's been crazy. It's also negatively impacted how I watch soccer because I don't have this is going to sound ridiculous, and it's partially a lie. But I don't get really excited when teams that I quote unquote root for score goals anymore. Because to me, it just feels like watching people do their job.
Right.
Which is weird, but that's where we're at there. Other than that, my friend and yours, Justin Ashcraft, and myself and Chuck Booth, who y'all probably, I'm sure John knows.
Yeah.
Because he does 9 million articles a day. He's turned into the Dochi of U.S. soccer writers. He's just kind of showing up places. We do a little podcast called
the Tyler track. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he did a piece with West Side Gun that's coming out tomorrow. I'm really excited for. But no, we
Chuck Booth. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. There's a lot of gun noises in the article. It doesn't work very well. Yeah, but we have a little podcast called Views from the Bridge, which is the your second favorite podcast about, hopefully in that week, your favorite team, the Philadelphia Union. Other than that, man, I don't know. Just trying not to die, I guess. Right? That's how we're doing.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. That's a good turn. How have we been since the show got so much better after Phil and I left?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's got much better, but it's definitely been
more journalistic integrity. Taylor is what you're looking for.
I wouldn't even say that. Yeah.
Well,
no. Sometimes we just let it fly, and then I realize.
Well, I mean, yeah, that was, of course. You have
let
to.
it fly, and then I'll get a message from somebody that'd be like, "Why did you say that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, people listen to this. My bad."
Yeah, no, yeah. So that was sweet because like I would never get those messages because I feel like everyone knew the answer, which was awesome.
Yeah, slowly
You know?
realizing that like we have an audience and the things we say are heard by like the people who are playing games and coaching games. I feel like I gotta watch my mouth a little bit. Yeah.
No, you don't. I here. Do you want me to? Here, I'll say the line that I always used to tell people because I've probably told you guys this in confidence, but I'll now tell it to you without confidence, or however that works. If y'all aren't signing a check for me, I can say whatever I want. That's
Yeah.
it's not
I
that
think
deep.
about it like if I'm criticizing a player's performance, like
Yes.
what if somebody got on a podcast and was saying like, "Man, John really sucked at his job today."
And
Like,
listen,
I would die.
everybody has always been welcome to clap back at me. Just never have. I don't know. I mean, listen, no.
I'm too gentle for that, I think.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, no, I've been. It's been crazy watching the league like roughly become stable.
Yeah.
And then the whole, like Pro-Rel thing finally happened, or is going to happen. Although I said roughly stable, and then like they announced that they were doing that, and then didn't really like come out with a here's what it looks like. So I mean, some things never change.
Yeah, I mean, as I talked to one person, and they said, and I quote, "The USL just loves to announce stuff."
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Preferred suppliers and all.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, here's what we're doing. You're like, great. What is it? It's like we don't really know yet, but we're doing it.
We are doing this. By the way, Bryce Jamison earlier with a spectacular miss. Didn't really mention that. It looked like ball kind of caught up on him, and he got a little close, tried to drag it a little wide, but I mean, he was kind of one-on-one on goal and put it well wide to the far post. Not really what you expect from a player his caliber, but North Carolina absolutely getting let off the hook.
Yeah. Listen, you'll take those when you can get them. That's, you never want to see it happen, but it's when you look for an offside flag and hope it goes up.
Yeah, those always crack me up. I love seeing plays that are clearly onside, and everybody throws their hand up. They get scored on, and they immediately start yelling at the ref, and replay show that they are like 10 yards onside. It's like,
oh yeah, you thought.
Well, gang,
Yeah.
I think I am gonna pop out of here because I want to eat dinner.
Yeah,
You should.
see you, John.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, good luck with the rest of this. I'll be watching. I may jump in, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, have fun.
Woo, as Orange County just nearly scores. Bye, John.
Everyone's missing. It's
Yeah,
great.
man. So I don't know. This is so interesting because you kind of mentioned that the USL becoming kind of stable. We are so in this all the time. You've had a chance to like kind of get out and view from.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, you're a little bit more removed from being so like in the weeds.
Yes.
Like what does the league look like? Oh, when you're not just in the jungle.
Yeah, it's nice not knowing. That's sort of been fun. Is that my sort of day to day of like dealing with all these people isn't necessarily a thing. What's it been? I mean, I think League One, because Ryan was around too, so I mean, maybe you can speak to this as someone that stayed in. The League One sort of like finding its footing and not immediately just crashing out was surprising. And then even like PDL flipping the league too, and then that becoming a little bit more solid, was sort of surprising. And then as a whole, just a lot of people that I know, which is really what this is all going to turn into, I guess, but then like having success in the league. Obviously, coach wise, James Chambers, never saw that one coming. But even, like player wise, like, Hugh Roberts having a career that he has. Who else? Like Matt Real, Matt Mahoney becoming like bona fide like USL guys and winning a chip. AJ Patterson sort of like establishing himself as a guy that can like consistently get minutes, and even just from knowing those guys personally, or even like an Anthony Fontana who just came back to Colorado Springs, like having a place for those guys to be professionals and log minutes and like earn a living playing soccer is huge. Because that wouldn't have been a thing 7 or 8 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I guess from a more personal standpoint, I remember the days Evan and I with USL Eastern Conference Confidential.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, that was the precursor
to
us.
The first thing.
Yeah, that was us, the precursor to taking over with the USL show. It was Kyle Kepner and Chad Hollingsworth who were kind of the inspirations. I remember reaching out to Kyle via email and via Facebook Messenger when I was still on Facebook at the time to join Indomitable City Soccer, and like that was such
it's good times. JC Escobar. I just saw him on my Facebook Messenger the other day. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, that was just such a blast for kind of that early era of USL. I remember the Wilmington Hammerheads kind of being in the league and watching that. I would do these podcasts in my dorm room in college. Yep. I would go to the library and I would just rent out a study room for that. I remember I went to Scotland and I would still record these podcasts at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning before I would walk to class in pitch darkness, mind you, after the podcast recording. And then there would be some weeks like I would be still asleep as you guys would keep messaging me and like unable to wake up from the city abroad. But like to speak to like a wider kind of league thing, like you would have a Louisville City here who would have a Santos, a Neil McCabe, a Paolo Del Pico, who would have over 200 appearances for a club in USL, which is just so incredible to think of. Like you see these players in England who get over 200 appearances for their clubs, like a Ben Davies for Tottenham, for instance. But like, to think of that within USL is just so phenomenal to think that there are players who have not only made a career in soccer, but they've wanted to stay in USL, that they've wanted to be here as a part of this league and become like bona fide legends of this league.
Yeah, one thing that has really impressed me is you have seen the level gone up. I mean, Ryan, it's an ongoing joke, but I mean, the USL truly has raised its game trademark, right? Like it from 2016, and we get a Kai Kamara in chat of I signed for FC Cincinnati. You mentioned 2016 FC Cincinnati. Yes, that was technically D3 of that.
Excuse me, sir.
Pro.
Excuse me, sir. You were talking about Fernando Adi.
Hey, listen.
Listen, if they got Kai Kamara in 2016, I actually would have been pissed off. They got Fernando Adi, who then got pocketed by Hassan Dam. Thank you for activating my autism. Who then got bodied in the playoffs. And then Cincinnati, the first year in the Super Draft, picked Hassan Dam like 3rd overall, and then he flamed out, which was hilarious.
Crushed this league.
Yeah.
Crushed this league.
Crushed the league. Man, I remember, God, that was a good time. FC Cincinnati fans were proper, and I was going to use a word that I shouldn't use. They were horrible. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was just it was fun, though, like that D3 USL Pro, which the subreddit is still named after.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know, yes, it went from D3 to D2, but still, it is incredible how much the talent level has come up. Yeah, Hassan Dom
and even like the polish, not that I want to like just be on this gimmick and like kiss ass to the league, but like even the polish on the league side of things, where it's like you guys get a lot more coordinated and like seemingly thought out access to things. Whereas like part of the reason that I'm friends with some of these players is because I would have to be like, hey, I want to have you on the show. Can you just join this Zoom call I'm gonna send you?
As by the way, USL legend scoring for this reunion, Rodrigo da Costa gets North Carolina on the board as it is 1-0 in the 45th minute. Rodrigo da Costa, another one of those players that's been around for, it seems like forever now. It's nice to see him still doing it and doing it at a high level.
Here, I'll put you guys on the spot as people that have like stayed in the league. What's like something that is not national news that I would be like, oh, that happened? Like, what's like a fun, like vaguely behind the scenes, like USL Championship story that's like, oh shit, really?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing that kind of happened did make news, which was the Loudon thing.
Oh sure, well yeah, but I mean that's also not surprising. Like I lived through the Harrisburg City / Rush Islanders, like that whole thing. Penn FC. So that one, I was just like, well, yeah, of course they don't care about their like affiliate team that's not actually their affiliate. We've been there.
I think about this all the time. By the way, this is a slight side track.
No, go for it.
The Penn FC, the Harrisburg Islanders, they had a recycling dolphin.
They did have a recycling dolphin.
I think about the recycling dolphin quite often. I think about him so much.
I think about so there are three things that always come to mind with Harrisburg City Islanders. And yes, Nicholas Murray, One Knox takes the lead. I had a bet on One Knox to score first for that game. Like Evan, if there was sports gambling that was legalized for North Carolina when you were still on the show, it would be such a different experience. But back to the kind of Harrisburg City Islanders era, I remember them having their Star Wars kits, like from when they had that era. I remember them having that iconic 6-5 game against Pittsburgh, which was just like truly like if we want to have a match as a show to just rewatch, that is a game to rewatch. And
that's a good one.
And then I forget the player, I forget the manager at it, but I recall like they had a unveiling of like some sort of promotion. It was in a grocery store in Harrisburg. It was in front of the vegetable aisle. And like didn't one of the players like unveil like something that he wasn't supposed to?
Man.
And then the manager like did like a really hilarious face to the side. It was like a, oh crap, we shouldn't have done that type of move. And like that was like the like screenshot of like, this is Harrisburg sock.
Oh man, okay, hold on. I'm not gonna remember the name of the player or the manager.
Yeah, like I don't remember it, but like you remember like
but
that
it was they were
in stock.
They were at like a Weiss or like one of the like Pennsylvania like central PA like grocery stores. And it was just like a player appearance kind of thing. And I don't remember, what the deal was, but the player like said something or like wasn't supposed to be there or something goofy. And then that was the only piece of news for like a week about them.
Yeah, and it was weird, and it was like an
Um,
announcement that like only us like nerds, like very in the niche, would like freak out
well,
about.
but
Yeah,
it
I
was
think it might have
funny.
been that Raphael Voss was the man. Like it was only something that, like us in the USL circles would kind of freak out about, but like
Well, but
beyond
like
that, it was so interesting.
I think one of my favorite things about like whenever I get vaguely reminiscent about like that time of year or that not time of year, but like that time frame in specifically USL, it was like there really wasn't like a casual audience.
By the way, I have personally switched over to the one Knox Madison match until the other one comes back on, where Madison has tied it up is 1-1 in Knoxville, which, by the way, that is, I don't know if the wider, you mentioned stuff that's going on. I don't know if the wider world soccer, US soccer world knows that One Knox has been like they broke like a USL League One attendance record with over 6,000 people,
I
and
think I saw that.
it's at a
Yeah.
baseball stadium and all that stuff.
My
But
heart.
the thing is, it's like, and I've said this before, baseball stadium or not, we see it with New Mexico
Mm-hmm.
where they get over 10,000 people at every single match, and it doesn't really matter what stadium you're in. If your front office actually puts in the effort to market and your team is good, people will come. Like your stadium can a shiny new stadium can bring people in, but so can good soccer.
I
Yeah.
believe there was a baseball movie with that same principle.
I think I've heard of
um,
that.
no, but it's also just really funny to like connect dots um, back to soccer world, like from not soccer world. So Phil Galati, who does play by play for League One, I think the Super League. I mean, he's like so Devin Kerr and Mike Watts are like his bosses technically. I met him through not soccer, and then we immediately clicked really hard over like, oh wow, okay, we know like this really tiny soccer league, and now he's a dear friend. And like that was weird because I was like, all right, I got out, like I don't know anybody like in the front office anymore, and I'm like, well, kind of do. Um, the first thing that came to my mind, Ryan, when you started talking about Harrisburg City Islanders was Bobby Warshaw.
Yeah, I remember the
Bobby
name.
Warshaw.
And then how I had a really uh, irrational hatred for him for years, and I don't remember why. But yeah, there was that. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, the R2D2 kit that sold for money online. There was that year. There was a dude in like a random like Eastern Bloc country that bought like all those kits.
I love that.
I forget which one.
I have not thought about him in so long.
Oh
He
yeah, dude! If you
legit-
wanted to play like Remember Some Guys, I'm all about it. I got names.
he showed up
Yeah,
for
I
what,
mean,
one season and just left and refused to elaborate. I think that was like what he did. He just showed up one time.
Evan, this kit
Yep.
that I'm currently pointing to is that same kit that was the Wilmington Hammerheads wore during a friendly against Sunderland that you saw on Classic Football shirts and that
I sure
you
did.
sent to me.
I sure did.
As well. Like I still have that. It's displayed on my wall. I still have the certificate of authenticity and everything. So I mean, like the USL has just been something that's like incredibly just changed my life.
That's sweet of you to still have that.
Of course.
I had a weird summer where Classic Football Shirts, which is a London and Manchester based company
Now
in
New York
England.
and Los Angeles with
Right.
tariffs.
But this was this was like way before that. This was like 2017 or whatever that was. They had a US section, and for whatever reason, like randomly there'd be like some like weird deep cut kits that would like pop up on their website. Which is how I ended up with the Toronto Lynx kit.
Hey, Evan, I hate to cut you off, but I want to name a player just to kind
Please.
of have a conversation. What about at one point the highest ever or the most appearances ever, absolute just legend, of this league and dear friend of yours, Hugh Roberts II.
So,
Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, is that my good friend? Oh man, I was about to say, and I'll still say it because I think it's true, and I've said this to him many times. But Hugh, as a player, is the mold for what center backs were when he played, and then as a human being, probably one of the most giving people I think I've ever met in my life. Full stop.
I appreciate that, my guy.
Anytime, my friend.
No, I'm trying to follow your footsteps.
That is some bullshit. I think I actually never lied to me again. Now, what I will say, and I actually remembered this the other night because I was like, oh, like we're gonna chop it up again. I think I might have been one of the first people to do like a series of podcasts with Hugh when he was starting out Backyard Footy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because I know it's true. I just didn't want to be cocky about it.
Yep.
He posted a clip of me removing glasses that I thought I was wearing, but I was not, on an Instagram story to immediately punk me out and make me look more uncool than I already am. And I have still not forgotten about it, but it's all good.
If you scroll down all the way to the bottom of my page,
Don't do that. Nope. Nope.
It's still there. It's still there.
That is poison. It's still there. That is evil work, my friend.
You know, I gotta show the origins.
Oh man, Hugh, you spent so long in this league. When I messaged you earlier, you said you were coaching. How long have you been? Obviously, a lot of players coach while they're playing. How long have you been coaching?
Yeah, honestly, since my rookie year, 2014, I can go back to my first year was literally 8th grade. I was too tall to even play in these camps, so they made me coach. I could have played in the league, but they wanted to force me to be a coach. So, but really, since Richmond Kickers, I was the U13 head coach there, and then when I moved to Charlotte, I was U13 boys for the Charlotte Eagles. Now it's just more so individual training, but I stay active with it.
Well, and that was always funny for me because there was a lot of the like bench guys or like second or third choice goalkeepers that like your side hustle to like make a living back in the day you were doing camps. And especially if you were part of that like Jersey triad with like Vermees or like you went to Ryder or like whatever. I'm getting like really deep into it. You did that. Like that was basically like your off-season income.
Right, exactly. I had to coach at that time. There's no minimum wage.
Right.
I mean, being transparent, it's like $300 a month or every 2 weeks kind of thing. So if I didn't coach, I wouldn't even be here. But you know, you got the free house and stuff, and they try to get away with those things too. So.
And
how you guys doing though? How's the show? I'm always following you guys. You guys are doing good things.
They took it over. I retired because I couldn't live in a world where a bunch of my friends became coaches and won championships. Especially not the ones that I thought were going to, but you know. So yeah, they've done a lot more with it than I ever could for a litany of reasons. Also, everyone got old, like had kids, so you know that kind of puts a damper on the free time.
Please, trust me.
Yeah, things have been great. It's been fun to kind of grow and evolve the show. We obviously, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, we did our fundraiser kit for Backyard Footy. We did that a few years ago, and we've been doing more stuff like that, just trying to get more involved with the community because like it's been so much fun to make connections with people around this league.
Yeah.
I think there's so many great soccer stories that just go untold, and I think that's been one of the biggest joys that I've had doing this show.
That's why I keep doing my show too as well, man. Get in contact with these players more. You guys get a connection more too. It's important. I see that still.
Well, it's just funny because you know seeing it from Ryan, but like seeing like getting to know, like especially when you're Kaylor, you probably have. I mean, both of you guys probably have like similar sort of stories where it's like, okay, you start out in your first couple of years, you're very like, yeah, like the organization, and then you start talking to guys more like me and Hugh, and then off season just turned into, okay, like I hope all these guys that I like as people are like getting the bag somewhere.
Yes.
You know, like as long as everyone has a contract or whatever, like I don't really care where they are. If they're happy, great. But like as long as we're all like getting money and like still doing what we want to do, like we're good.
Right.
But it's just so funny, like especially at this level, especially back then, it was like, no, these are like just real people that have stories to tell. It's just no one's there to do it. And you know, Hugh, especially with being a player and not a fraud like me, you could really just go like, hey, let's just talk about it and sit down with these guys and really kind of, you know, humanize the game, I guess.
Exactly.
Ryan,
You
you have
guys say
some?
something, Ryan?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Hugh, you've been in USL a long time. I guess from a player's perspective, what would you
Old.
say has been like just the just biggest change that you've seen kind of within the changing landscape of USL?
Yeah. Well, one exciting thing this year is the Jägermeister tournament is finally between both leagues, so then you can finally have the bragging rights of who's the best
Mhm.
team now. You know what I mean? Because everyone League One player aspires to do that. But I would say one of the coolest things now that the minimum wage is here with the CBA, I see a lot of young players hop into the league now for going college.
Mhm.
I'm not saying they should as well too, because I still advise some if you have a top college in comparison to maybe a League One or a championship, maybe go out and take your opportunity. But a
Mhm.
lot of players, which is needed because we got to compete with Europe and do kind of the European style. You got to come in when you're a teenager now. So providing more stability, giving more opportunities. Not every team is playing these young players, but a lot of clubs are now, and I'd love to see it. And as long as you can perform and hang in there, you can hang in there. 17-year-old, 18-year-olds are playing now. So I love to see that because it's going to grow the USL. Eventually, you're going to have some superstars to make the national team. We already seen some as well. And that's going to grow the league again. Or maybe, I mean, some players already going to Europe, but more players going to Europe and sign for big deals. So it's going to help the league a lot. And I can see that.
What's the tipping point, do we think, for how young is too young? Because I mean, you know, we have all these, like, obviously everyone goes back to Freddie Adu, where it's that dude wasn't ready for what that was going to be for him, right? That's a terrible story. But now you have sort of these Kevin Sullivan's, your Brandon Vasquez is even, he was, you know, making a lot of headway and moved in a lot of places, and it's tough, man, because there's a balance there. It's like, you know, I watched Forrest Lasso body kids like 2 weeks before their prom. Like, like, and it's like, is that good? I guess I don't know, but it's always just like weird. And you know, I'm not one to stand here and be like, oh, moral high ground, but it's just tough because to be able to get to the level that Hugh got to, or that any of the guys that are in any professional level of soccer, even the indoor stuff or whatever, like you have to sacrifice a lot of yourself to get there.
Yeah.
And it's what's the trade-off?
I think personally, when we look a couple years ago, I think it is now when Sacramento signed that 14-year-old,
Yep.
that was good publicity, but you don't really see him playing. I haven't really seen him on the bench. I haven't really seen
Right.
So for me, that's not a bad thing, but is the kid going to get an opportunity to still play and develop and like help him out, not just sign a pro contract just to say he's a pro and look good for the other youth players?
And get clicks, and then for the academy to just try to get more kids in the academy to for the pipeline. Yeah.
Lamine Yamal, of course, is 16 playing the highest level, but it's good. I know very good 16-year-olds. I've trained with the academy even when I was my young rookie years, DC United, Philly young players. Like Brendan Harrison was 15 years old playing with the Steel at the time. So they can do it as long as you have a good, and he had a good trajectory. Boom, national team in Europe. You see it. He's going back to the first division in playing. So you can do it with a good structure. I just think sometimes when there isn't the proper structure around it, it can be a little too much just, for the structure of the kid more so.
I mean, there's different ways they can kind of slice up. You're talking about Davion Kimbrough. Was the signed at like 14 years old, got maybe 2-3 minutes the year he signed. You saw the game that we're watching now, which is the North Carolina versus Orange County.
Yeah.
Bryce Jamison was playing a little bit for the senior squad, but he was playing for the academy. He would go down to the USL Academy League, and he was getting hat tricks all the time because he was frankly way too good for the academy system.
Right.
And he was in an awkward place. Is he ready for men's football? Maybe, maybe not, but he's definitely way too good for kids football. He's not learning anything.
Right.
There's also guys like I had my own club with Birmingham, Rami Zamuda, where you bring him in 15 years old, and they played him at left back because he's a center back by trade, but they didn't want him to go body for body against grown men. Let him get some pace, get used to the pace, don't get as used to the physicality. He's grown up after a year or two, and he looks like a grown man despite being 16 years old.
Right.
I think it just kind of depends on who you are. I feel like maybe your strikers can, or maybe your outside players can do it a little bit younger because you're not as in many big collisions. But like if you're someone like you played center back, could you imagine stepping up as a 14-year-old in men's league doing that as a center back?
Right. And that's what I'm saying too. Exactly what the experience. Throw them in with the fire with training all the time. Like you said, there's young players that can handle that. I know some center backs, even the one that was when Loudon went to DC United. I think he's on Europe overseas now too. He was playing at a young age. If you're 6'4", 200 pounds, you're up there. You can compete, hold your own, no problem too. But definitely at 14-year-old, there's definitely a big difference with that too. So yeah, setting these players up for success is a big thing that I'm just trying to educate players on as well. So I use my podcast and stuff too. But that's what I like to see in this league, and I love to see that it's growing. I hope USL League One is a good thing as well too, and starts that promotion relegation that's needed within the league.
Yeah, as I'm about to switch over back to the North Carolina match. Hugh, there was a younger player that you played with that I wanted to ask about when you were with Charlotte, and that was Omar Sis. Dude is one of my favorite players in the league. What was he like to just be a teammate with?
Yeah, he's a good, humble, funny kid, but he works hard every day too. I like him. He's very crafty. Still young as well. I hope he gets this opportunity in the championship. But yeah, I liked him as well. The good engine. Unfortunate to get a couple of injuries last year when I was playing with him, but normally he's a stalwart playing every minute. But I loved his craftiness. It reminds me of I don't know if y'all remember like Asante and Owusu back with the Richmond Kickers. Young players like. Omar's taller, but same way with the twinkle toes, getting out of situations, being crafty like that.
Gotcha. I don't feel like maybe I did, maybe I didn't. This is such a random thing. Legion played Monterey Bay 2 years ago, and you were starting that match, and I was on the field doing film and stuff. And I think that you were the first player that I had ever actually been starstruck by on the field. I just been watching you for so long and never had a chance to be that close. I was so just starstruck by just being around. It was so wild. You were the first and I think only player to really do that to me. It was weird.
Man, I appreciate you telling me that. It meant a lot. It was when we were at Birmingham, right? I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good game, man. I appreciate that. Hope to see you again sometime soon, so we can chop it up, hop on the show in person, and do everything.
Yeah, hey, let's do it whenever we get a chance.
Yep.
So
yeah, you mentioned being in Charlotte. Like I currently live in Charlotte myself as well,
okay.
So I'm at least in the kind of North Carolina vicinity here.
Let's do it. You have your own studio here, or what are you doing? Just at the place?
I'm just in my apartment. I have the scarves and everything behind me. This is just my bedroom, about 2 miles away from Bank of America Stadium.
Okay, nice. Yeah, there's the one I use at the Hyge Studios. Hyge, I don't know how you pronounce it. HYGGE. Those studios over there. You can rent them out for an hour for $20. So I'm down to. We'll coordinate. I'll give you my contact after this.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. I have a couple, just a few obviously a few more questions for you, Hugh, as like we're still watching, going through everything. Um, we're looking at League One right now. When you played for Richmond, they were not a League One team. They were the USL Pro, which is still Division III, semantics because American soccer and all. They're averaging like a packed house every single night. What was that atmosphere like as a player to be in?
Yeah, that was the same thing when I was there. It was amazing. They actually had their own chant for me too, which was a blessing to the last year. That's just how they're passionate. I think, see, the Kickers do a great job connecting with the community, so it starts with that, and that's why the fans love it. Back when I was there, I don't know if it's the same now, but after every single game, you had to go to the bar and meet the supporters and meet the fans. It's mandatory. Even if you're only there for 10, 15 minutes, coach would be there, maybe even fine you or put you tardy if you didn't show up, kind of thing. Like, we went there, shook hands with almost every fan, supporters who showed up to the game, and then around the 80th minute, they'd also put it on this the game time announcements, like, head over to this pub where the players are going to be, meet the players, and we're meeting kids and everybody too. So fans can feel that, the community felt that, and they always show love. And then we were also, a pretty good team as well too. Top 2, top 3, 25 unbeaten streak my first year and the last year as well too. So when you bring success to the organization and the fans are connected too, yeah, it was great, man. The song that they sung for me, the Omarion song, "Oh Baby You Got What I Need." They say, "Oh Baby Hugh, you got what I need." You say he just offends. You say he just offends. It was love.
That's awesome.
So it makes you want to come back. So I was there for 3 years. It makes you want to stay there, and you see players staying there over time too.
And that's just been like, I think one of the really good things about USL, that it really feels like you can connect with a lot of the players, like almost as a fan on a personal level. I remember when the Wilmington Hammerheads were still my hometown team at the time, that I would see those players like at the Chipotle in Wilmington.
Right.
I would just see them out and about in town, and it would just be like, yeah, I know these people kind of on a personal level, and like seeing them out on the match and seeing them out on the pitch is just like another step to that. But like, I really feel like USL has done a really good job at connecting those players to the fan bases, to the supporters group, to appearing on podcasts like this, or like this one, and like other supporters groups as well.
That's probably the difference between the MLS and USL. USL more homegrown, more connected with the players. Everyone feels that. MLS is, it's just not as in the major leagues too. But that's probably the difference that separates us as well.
So whenever you kind of have these connections, it's so funny because your relationship with yourself, you would probably just see yourself as just a guy, right? And all the fans, like, they see you as professional athlete, superhuman. You're our hero. You're awesome. And to have that relationship where players and world fans start to get to know you, is that something that you feel like you're almost two different people, if that makes sense?
And then it makes sense, but who I am, I try to stay the same always. I will say though, like I mentioned before, in Richmond, it was great. It can be just a little different in certain environments too. Like when I was, on the West Coast living at the time, the fact that some people can be a little too touched when they can find out where you live and get a little too personal and might, track you down a little bit as a player. It's fine too, because it's a USL, nothing safety wise, but that can there's other sides of things as well too, that of course you don't really see as well. But I experienced some of that as well too, off the field, just living in certain cities and stuff too. It's cool. It's always love, trust. But I know a lot of players stay low key for that reason too. You don't really see them out and about too much, just because you can track us pretty easily and get to know our personal well-beings,
For sure. Did you play with Brandon Miller, by the way?
Yep, 3 years.
Okay. Where did you play with him? Like, what stops?
Charlotte.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you guys had overlap with Lily or not, if you guys played together with Lily or not. Because you were at Pittsburgh at one point.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I wasn't 18, but no, not together. He was there in Rochester years when I was in Richmond. So when I think they won it there too. I was in Richmond. We played against each other then.
So we had to ask Brandon about playing for Lily. We talked about it earlier about MLS teams and MLS fans especially getting their first indoctrination of Lily ball and just like being a center back or like being so defensively sound, like they couldn't create anything with New York City and all the fans were furious. Like, how could we not score against the USL team? It's like you got Lily balled. A two-pronged question. What makes him different as making the defense as perfect as it always is? Because he just seems to have the formula. And second, what is your best Lily story that you have?
All right. I would say
you're allowed to share.
He holds everybody accountable for sure. He remembers. He's a great memory, like almost like on LeBron's level, where every single mistake that a player has, like every player he subbed on, started, he remembers every mistake you did, and after every game, you're gonna hear from that. And no one's safe, even if maybe Canardo was the only one that was safe. Even if you're starting 4 games in a row, team of the week, 2 weeks in a row, he's gonna bench you just to let you know who's, you know what I'm saying? And it's cool. You got to bite your tongue in those situations, but it also makes sure, you know, every single training you're doing your thing, you're balling and performing, because he doesn't want anyone to slack off. And you don't want to be caught out in film. He's going to hold you at training and at games just to make sure you don't forget what happened. A good story, I would say we play Atlanta United 2. This is back when they're in the USL. And we're, I think, 1-0, and they probably tied in the last minute. We stayed on that field we never left the field probably for another hour and a half, 2 hours, to the point where they shut off the lights on the field. And the grounds crew came up to us on the field and said, "Hey, coach, can you mind going inside and taking your speech in the locker room?" So didn't even go to the locker room, hopped on the bus, got to the hotel. We all walk out the bus, another hour and a half, 2 hours of holding everyone accountable right outside the hotel until probably about midnight. And we had to leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning the next morning. Didn't matter. But like I said, and he remembers everything. He's going around and making sure everybody remembers that he knows, and you don't forget what you did in that game.
I'm so glad actually you mentioned the Atlanta United 2 story, because we talked to the people at Soccer Down Here, which has like Lanshu and a bunch of other guys who do the play-by-play for Atlanta United 2. And that story has been told to me by the Atlanta United commentators multiple times.
Wow.
Like they were heading out to their vehicles to leave, and you guys were still on the field, and they just went up to the gate just to watch you guys get yelled at.
That is hilarious to hear another perspective on that. Man. And I think it might even started raining too. Like it was the whole thing. But I mean, he has success, and you know, especially playing at Highmark. Highmark is no joke. Highmark, shout out to those fans too. They really do their thing out there, and you can feel the intensity every time you go there. And the views, maybe a little bit smaller compared to the other stadiums too. So he really knows how to perform on that field too.
You've played. Oh, sorry, Ryan. Were you going to say something?
No, it was just like it's almost become so much of a meme. Like I've put like Bob Lilly in Football Manager like into other different clubs to see how he would perform. Like I've put him in charge of Liverpool, and he's guided Liverpool to a Europa League title. So it's just really cool to hear a perspective of a player who's played under Bob Lilly and just the experience that you had there as well.
Yep, appreciate that.
So someone who has, I mean, you've gone, it seems like everywhere. I mean, you went through Richmond, you went through Bethlehem Steel, you've been through Pittsburgh, Charlotte twice, and then Monterey. Just kind of going from clubhouse to clubhouse. The one thing that I've had one player describe the USL as quote unquote incestuous, and how much just players just get traded and just all end up being in the same place. Is it easy to go into new locker rooms because the USL stays within its own so much, or is it still difficult to find your way in those places?
Yeah, that's a good question. Everyone knows someone on a new team for sure. So it's good to have a known face and a familiar face. But I would say definitely every locker room is different, every culture is different. So don't you might have that relationship with someone, but that doesn't mean your relationship with that coach. Like say I go into a new club and I know a teammate there, he might already be situated and sort of I still have to make a name for myself. The coach might not be favoring me. So like, yes, me and the boy are cool, but he can't really do much on my defense like that. I still have to prove myself. So and then you have to your friend can get you updated on the coach or who so is like, don't do this, don't the coach don't like this, and that's great pointers, but you still have to experience certain things yourself because you're a different player too. So yeah, a little bit of both, but I would say every locker room is definitely different, mostly because the managers.
Just wondering, are you watching the North Carolina Orange County?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this what have you kind of seen between these two teams as we're about an hour in? I know you missed a little bit because you were coaching, but the Orange County's come out kind of trying some new systems. North Carolina has kind of had some chances, but hasn't been able to break down this Orange County defense in the second half. What are you kind of seeing as a player and coach?
Yeah, I like Orange County's willingness to play no matter what, even though North Carolina's been pressing. And I think North Carolina did have the better of the ball in the first half a little bit, but they weren't really dangerous. Orange County, I would say, was probably the more dangerous team. But good for NCFC capitalizing on that good counterattack and their probably best opportunity of the half. I would still say Orange County's probably been a little bit more dominant on the ball and just a little bit more braver in taking their opportunities. It's also good to see some League One players out there making a name for themselves starting in the championship because you don't know, but it's really not that far off for every player. Even the jump from MLS to USO Championship, there's still quality players in MLS or in the USO Championship that can still make the leap. So it's just a lot, there's politics and everything too. So it's good to see that. But yeah, I would say, I guess for me, it's just interesting that NCFC changes their lineup a good bit, especially the center back core and the back line. Normally, where I'm coming from, just from other clubs, you kind of keep the back line intact. And he has experience with Donovan and Craig, but they really haven't played together a lot. And he's been swapping them back and forth and swapping the armband back and forth between them. So it's just interesting. I'm glad things are working out still. But yeah, so it's good to see Orange County still at least sticking to their principles, even though on the road traveling from the West Coast is never easy. But yeah, they're sticking to their morals, and I like the way they play.
Ryan had actually mentioned it earlier about going West Coast, East Coast, East Coast, West Coast. You've had experience with both. Which is more difficult, going West Coast to East Coast or East Coast to West Coast to play?
I would say probably to East Coast. If I'm living, the West Coast teams coming to the East Coast because of the time difference. And sure, you go back when you come from the East to the West, but you could just, you lost 3 hours, so you can get that back a little bit more, sleep in a little bit later. I would say when you're traveling from the West, and it's all about the time frame that you leave as well, too. A lot of clubs aren't really covering flights 2 days before still, so you're flying the night before, and that's very tough. Most ones who do have good budget, like San Diego when they're in the league, and I was in Monterey, I think we beat them or tied them before, and so they came to us 2 days before the game prepared, and they came through and beat us in the 94th minute, 3-2 kind of thing. And it just speaks to, I mean, that was San Diego, but Louisville came over early, sorry, as well, too, and I think even beat us 2-1, not one of our first games of the season, just because they came 2 or 3 days early. Like, those little things matter for players, too. I would just say, yeah, it's definitely a little tougher for the West Coast teams going to the East.
Yeah, it's interesting because for tomorrow, Monterey Bay are traveling to Rhode Island, and they're playing at a 4 p.m. Eastern time zone start, which is relatively early for the Western Conference team, making the trip to arguably the farthest road trip in USL Championship.
Right. That's very interesting. I just hope they traveled in Thursday because you fly in. Normally, if it's the night before, you don't really get into the hotel till like 7. No matter what, every team, if it's the night before, dinner, and the game's at 4, got to be there 2:30. You just have brunch and you're ready to go. So that's a good turnaround. I hope they got some travel time in there. But
To
yeah,
Monterey Bay's benefit, they did have Rhode Island playing. I think not. They played 90 minutes midweek, so like Monterey Bay had been fully rested here. Rhode Island had their match against New England in the Open Cup, so there could be some tired legs playing a role in that.
yep, that's true too. That's true too. I forgot about the Open Cup as well. Yep. So we'll see.
Yep,
I'm be
they
tuned into
also-
that game too.
Yep.
Go ahead.
They also have a match midweek coming up as they come down to Birmingham as well. So Rhode Island's in the middle of a three games in 1 week stretch. So if there's any time if you're Monterey Bay to make essentially a 1 p.m. start as opposed to 4 p.m., this probably is the week to do it.
Right. That's very true. They need to bounce back too.
Good Lord, looking at Rhode Island's future schedule, they don't get a break until the middle of August.
Oh,
That's
man.
tough.
I mean, best of luck to a friend of the show, Connor Smith, for coaching that team through that period.
Right.
No kidding. Hugh, speaking, want to take a little bit of time. We've talked about it a few times of backyard footy. Can you give the people just a little bit of insight on what that is?
Yeah. So it's a company I founded in 2018 when I was in Pittsburgh. Started as a podcast. Knew about one player in every team. So when they came in town, I interviewed them. And then when I went to Charlotte, found a videographer, photographer, kind of was like, let me show more behind the scenes. COVID happened. Started our first foundation nonprofit called Footy's Got You Foundation, giving food back to the homeless. We do that in California and here in Charlotte still. Then grew the company to more of an entertainment company. Now our niche is storytelling, still doing the podcast, but still doing more so documentaries for players, showing more behind the scenes, like day in the life kind of things too. But yeah, man. So now, TST's around, so we're partnered with Drip FC for TST, doing media for them.
Very nice.
Really pushing the media side of things. My niche, I said, is storytelling. I'm a player, so I kind of separate myself from other brands because I can ask specific questions, get them to open up more and, know kind of what people want to hear too in terms of questions from players. So my company's been working with some companies here in Charlotte that's giving me access to Charlotte FC players. I interviewed Brent Bronico, interviewed another MLS Next player who's going to be a homegrown player for FC next year too. So trying to just, capitalize on the media out here. Will be at TST, like I said. So hopefully maybe even Nani kind of thing, but you never know. But definitely in preparation to keep producing some media and show more behind the scenes. We'd love to work with some USL clubs eventually, show what players are doing. Like, sure, there's good media teams out there, but I can tell you just from my perspective that I think a lot of clubs could do more, and I can just help them out. And I just know from a player's perspective, we want a little more. Just individuality too. Like players want specific content for them. A little, of course, clubs can't do that, so we can come in too. So, yeah, it's been good. Doing it by myself a lot. Met some good guys as well too. Been helping me out, and we're gonna continue to grow.
You talked to one of my favorite personalities in the USL, Sam Gleadle, about a month, 2 ago. I watched that one when it came out. Sam is just one of the just great humans of the USL. There's a lot of great ones, but Sam is awesome. That was an instant click for me for sure. If you're someone who's in our live chat, we've posted the YouTube channel link for Backyard Footy. It's great stuff. I don't miss an upload. It's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely gonna be doing a lot more of that too. Now that I have some more free time, definitely gonna be tapping into a lot more championship players. Got some exciting guests on the way too. These are kind of more just warming up, getting my groove back. Main focus right now, TST's coming up in like 3 weeks, so focusing on that coming up, and then after that, be full on with the USL Championship. Got some fun things with Drip FC coming up too. We went up to Raleigh, did some things with Ezra Armstrong, like a little documentary thing. So that'll be cool. People, I see your guys' reactions. Like people want to see these things. Like trust me. So I've known this since I was in 2018, but it's really tough being a player doing these things because you're focused on your season and got to do content. And I'm also somebody who's not really trying to be in front of the camera. So if we're losing, not in a good streak, I'm not going to be, putting a podcast out. So your season dictates, the content and things that you do as well too, and question you ask players. So those things matter. I lived and I learned all that, and so now that I got that groove, yeah, definitely pushing out a lot more.
You mentioned Ezra, by the way. Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think he's the most underrated player in the league. He is
Yeah.
so good at what he does at that wingback spot, and I know he got second team All USL, but he was easily the best wingback in the league last year. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, he did his thing. I don't. Is he starting tonight? I'm not too sure.
No, he didn't. He's not starting
Injured
tonight.
still, right? He's been injured for some time now.
Yeah.
But with NCFC, how they love to play in that big field, he really shined last year, and I'm hoping he gets a good amount of time this year.
Ryan, you have something?
Yes, so as USL kind of moves towards this moving into Pro Rel, I think by 2028, over the next 3 years, Hugh, what does the league have to do to make this a more kind of player-friendly league to kind of like have players benefit from the Pro Rel kind of standpoint, and where does the CBA fit into this kind of Pro Rel landscape?
Yeah, I think they really have to still take care of the players a lot more. And I know you guys don't know all the nuances, but there's still a lot of clubs who take the cheap route, no lunches, 5 hours before kickoff, night before games, getting off a plane, going straight to trainings. You're pulling muscles, not having proper training equipment, trainers as well. Like, if we're going to take these things seriously, we got to invest into the players seriously. Even don't get me wrong, there's top clubs who have the money, they're doing their thing. That's why they're always, I don't have to say their names, that's why they're always at the top. But not everybody is doing that's like the small percentage of the clubs. Majority are still getting by, and players, even mid-table teams, players are still upset about this. And I'm on the players union still, and I'm hearing their calls and hearing their frustrations as well. And that was just last week kind of thing. So you get what you put in and everything, right? You invest more in the players, I promise you the quality is going to go up, the results going to go up, even your money's going to go up, even fans going to be more excited. But, if you don't, you're going to see kind of the other spiral effect where players aren't going to be as invested. The losing starts happening, the injury starts happening, and fans are upset. And you see that in certain clubs too, year in and year out.
I mean, you mentioned just like certain clubs not taking care of their people. I mean, we saw a top club in the East right now with Loudoun just make headlines for this same exact reason, right? I mean, when you make enough contacts around the league, you hear these stories more often than you'd like. It's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. The CBA has fixed a lot, or at least band-aided a lot, but it's still not where it needs to be. If you're thinking, and obviously you say you're part of the players union, so answer what you can, of course. But for you, what would you want as a player to say, this is something I will agree to? Because this is a little known fact, and I've tried to say this a lot on whenever we talk about Pro Rel. The league has to get an agreement from the player because this is a change in the workplace environment. The players have to sign off. This is not like it's happening whether the players like it or not. It's kind of the other way around, that if the players don't sign off, there's no Pro Rel. That's just the fact of the matter. For you, what would be your number one thing that you'd want to see as a player for you to say, okay, I'm willing to make this next step?
Next step, I mean, joining that club?
Or join the club, or like make that next step of, yeah, we're willing to do the Pro Rel thing because.
Okay. I mean, obviously the player's gonna talk about salary from the jump, but a lot of little things, man. Like, if we're gonna be serious with this Division I, like 401k, insurance. We don't got a lot of that. I mean, you can structure it now with the CBA, but over 50% of players don't have health insurance, and that's been going. I've never had health insurance. I had to provide for my own self, kind of thing. You have workers' comp, but that really isn't anything. Those kind of things, if you want some equity, even some stock, we'll get into all that. But more like the benefit wise, for sure, salary's going to increase, but 12-month contracts going to be the minimum. That's still 10 months right now, and those 2 months in the off seasons are a killer, and not just for a player that's coming back for the following year. Even for the players that you're recruiting that come to your team, it's like you want this player to be healthy in the offseason, getting ready, training properly, not having to work a job where he's distracted and he can't train in the offseason and get ready for you. And then he comes in and he's only half the way he's supposed to be, and then he takes a whole month to get ready. make sure he's good in the offseason. I promise, like any other job, we don't have to worry about getting a job and fending for ourselves. We can focus on our craft and get better for you in the offseason, and then we're going to provide more quality for you in the season. So I'm not going to say salary is secondary for me, but salary is a little bit on the back end where I want, and players are going to want, all the benefits as well. Like a lot of players retire just because it's not worth dealing with all this stuff for years, not having its benefit, not having proper salaries to provide for your family. Like minimum wage, we have a minimum wage now, but it's you guys know what it is now. It's still all right, but young players can get by, but not players with families and stuff too. So those things have to change a little.
Well, it's so funny because I talk as a teacher, right? And the big push or the big perk to being a public school teacher is you get the retirement, you get the insurance, and a lot of teachers that I know, good friends that are like, yeah, the pay isn't good, like the pay isn't what we want. However, we get insurance, our family is insured, and we have retirement. That alone makes this worth it. That goes the same for a lot of different backgrounds, not just professional athletes.
Exactly. Same thing in our industry as well too. Fortunate to do what we're doing as well too. But if you want some proper product on the field, these little things matter as well, especially for Division I.
So we kind of saw a replay earlier with this North Carolina team where Rodrigo da Costa ends up getting the goal. It's still the goal that sees North Carolina have the lead. He's been a guy who's been around forever. If you've gone against him, what is he like to try to defend?
Yeah, he's like a bulldog kind of thing. Like, he takes care of the ball. He's very smart, always checking his shoulders, pressing you. He's very calm on the ball too. You can tell he came from a good system at NCFC Academy where they play out the back and they're not afraid to play good ball. So definitely, from my perspective, I'm a center back, seeing him, a little bit higher pressing, you have to be a little cautious of certain balls that you're playing in because he likes to jump in and be aggressive in there too. And it's always good to have someone like that to kind of keep you on your toes, and you keep him guessing, it keeps me guessing kind of thing.
This is something I've thought about. Whenever I make content for the USL show, I kind of think in two heads, right? Like two headspaces. One of them is I've been, for the last few years, obsessed with free kicks and free kick design because we've actually seen clubs invest in actual set piece coaches, which is like, we talked about this before, but like Louisville City made a killing off of being one of the few teams that actually had a set piece coach. They were just getting more goals than other people from set pieces because they just spent the money, right? And the other thing is goalkeepers. I love goalkeeping. I love watching goalkeepers. You played in the middle of the new age of goalkeeping where the goalkeeper at times acts as a third or fourth center back and allows another center back to go higher or whatever. What is that like as a center back, knowing that you can pass to the goalkeeper and they're not just going to kick it as far as they possibly can? Was that an adjustment that you had to make as a player, or was it pretty seamless?
I guess that's a standard that came from in Richmond. Your foundation in certain clubs in certain areas start you off, and they love to play out the back. We have a lot of DC United goalkeepers. Joe Willis was with us from Nashville, so he was brave, and which gave me confidence. I love it. I think every center back loves it. Love a goalkeeper that even loves to play at the back, not even just kicking it long themselves too, because even if a forward presses us, we're calm, he's calm. I know I have a third option who's almost always open in the game. No, you can't cherry pick, you can't stay offside. So the goalkeeper is almost always open. So it's a good plan B and a good last option for us too. But any goalkeeper that loves to play, we're a big fan of that too. And I guess I was more so looking for goalkeepers that could do that than goalkeepers who couldn't do that because of where I came from. And anyone that could do that, I was a big fan of.
Makes sense. So as we're getting into the final 10 minutes of this match, we've started to see North Carolina turn the screws a little bit more and really get more into this match. They got their goal and they haven't really seemed like they've been the better team. You mentioned that earlier. For you, what are you seeing out of Orange County that what should they do to try to get back into this match and at least get the leveler?
I'll have to see how the gameplay goes right now in a second, but definitely press a little more, press the initiative. They're putting on a good player right now for attacking. They're doing well keeping the ball. So I'm even in this moment right now so confident they're going to generate at least 2 good chances as well, just with the composure that they have. But NCFC is doing well pressing them. They're going to have to do the same thing vice versa and win this ball back and stay high and, take a chance, not just sit back, stay in a block. You're going to just have to stay behind on goal kicks and stay high as a whole back unit because everyone's going to be pressing. Maybe a lot more one-on-one matchups, but it's worth it. You're down 1-0. Don't really have much to lose at this point as well, too. So I think they are. It looks like they're pressed up pretty high, and it's a 1v1 matchup with the center back. So looks like everybody else is pretty high, too. So I think they should generate some more opportunities.
Well, Hugh, I know you got to roll pretty soon. We already mentioned again backyard footy, but again, let the people know where to find you. Where can they consume all the content? Like, where can people hit you up and say thanks for coming on?
Thank you, sir. Backyard Footy with 2 Y's on Instagram. Backyard Footy, Facebook, Twitter, on all platforms, TikTok as well too. But yeah, and we're Apple, Spotify, on all YouTube as well too. Follow a lot of documentaries on that as well, and just definitely stay tuned. A lot more podcasts weekly. I'm gonna keep that going weekly. More behind the scenes with day in the life from players, and then TST's coming up too. So definitely stay tuned for a lot of behind the scenes actions. Preseason for Drip FC starts next weekend, so see a lot of behind the scenes, and I'll keep that going with that.
Wonderful. Hey, everybody, check it out. Thanks for hopping on, man. You're a blast.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep in touch with me. Keep doing your thing. All right. I'll see you guys soon.
We'll
Love what you're doing.
See ya.
Have a good one.
See ya. Always
That
a
was so
blast.
cool.
It's so cool. I mean, if people have not talked to Hugh Roberts, he is one of the great guys that this league has to offer. Check out all of his stuff. But I was so serious when I said that. I was so starstruck by him. I have seen the Inter Miami's come to Birmingham. I'd seen Atlanta United, and I had seen a lot of the big players that through the USL come through. Hugh has been the only player that I was just starstruck by. There's just something about the guy. He's just an absolute USL legend.
Yeah, I mean, it is so cool that we've had these tremendous players come through USL. Oh, just from when we've started covering the league sorry, there was an Orange County moment there.
Yeah.
Or as we've just seen, I've seen Tyler Adams of all people play at a high school stadium in Wilmington, North Carolina, and now he's playing for Bournemouth in the Premier League and could be a Europa League player next season. It speaks to the level of quality that USL has had through its system over the years. And it is just so damn cool to have these players, not just part of the league, but they still want to be part of the league. They still want to be involved with all the players, with the system and everything. And it's just awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyler Adams. Not to rain on Phil. We just let Phil be happy recently, but then El Paso blew the 2-0 lead. And it reminded me that match just felt like a spitting image of the 2017 US Open Cup semifinal with FC Cincinnati versus New York Red Bulls.
Yeah,
where Cincinnati was up 2-0. Blew it. 3-2 is the way it ended. Tyler Adams was on that team. There was a couple of other big names that were on that New York Red Bulls squad. This is we're just kind of naming random things that happened. The tweet doesn't exist anymore. I think that it got taken down pretty quickly. But I think a week or two after the Red Bulls senior beat FC Cincinnati, they played Red Bulls 2. They played the Baby Bulls, which if people don't remember, before roughly around 2019, 2020-ish, Baby Bulls were like the best team in the league. Like they were crazy good.
Yeah.
The Baby Bulls beat FC Cincinnati, and the Baby Bulls put out a tweet that said, "We have an academy team too if you want to try to get a third try," or something like that. I think about that tweet a lot, and it doesn't exist anymore, and I wish it did.
I mean, like the Baby Bulls, I think if you go through my Indomitable City Soccer articles, like you will see that two words like pop up so frequently in everything that I've published. It wasn't the same tournament, but like 2016, I remember when the Wilmington Hammerheads, we got the bad luck of the draw that we had played Real Salt Lake in the fourth round of the tournament, and we had gotten up 2-0 over Real Salt Lake before losing on penalties 3-1. I have the page pulled up on this side here, and like I remember watching that with a friend kind of like in my bedroom. I was just like, yeah, man, this is so damn cool. Like this team that is just 2 miles from my house right now is playing Real Salt Lake, and like it is just the greatest thing ever. And yeah, I mean, that's just the magic of USL. That's the magic of the Open Cup. And it's part of the reason why I still love following this league so much. You're on mute. You're on mute, Kaylor.
I do this. I was so good all show long. Yes, Nicola Murray put in chat. Bradley Wright Phillips did score twice. One of them was in the 100th minute, I think, because it went to extra time. It was 2-0. Then I think it was 2 goals in the last 10 odd minutes. And then at the 100th-ish minute mark, Bradley Wright Phillips gets another goal. That was a stacked New York team. And I don't know. That was I know for me, I was at the Chicago Fire match for the FC Cincinnati match. I was in the Bailey watching that match with my little brother. Only sporting match he ever went to. He hated sports, but he actually talks very glowingly about that match because it was just so much fun to be a part of. I think about that run in particular because little did we know that the quarterfinal was between 2 USL teams, with the Miami FC being the other team that could have gone on to face the New York Red Bulls, which what a different world we could have been in if it was the Miami FC who made it to the US Open Cup semifinal.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before on previous shows that the Miami FC kind of holds a special place in my heart just for the meme of the team that they are. But I still it feels like this year's team, they're not with the boring Miserino type of play, that they are like going through things and they're trying. I mean, like they've come back from 3-0 down against Tampa Bay to get a win on penalties in the Jägermeister Cup. They're like really putting together a proper side as well. It's like, hey, like it or not, the Miami FC, as Nicholas Murray is putting into chat, as a NASL, it's like they are part of the lore of just kind of US soccer right now.
Yeah, as we are getting into the 88th minute, going into the 89th, Orange County is really pushing, but North Carolina defending with their hair on fire, but possibly able to catch Orange County out as North Carolina give away possession now. But this is going to be a tense, if I had to guess, last 5 to 6 minutes. I think we're going to get 3 to 4 minutes of extra time or added time. Added time, extra time, very different, of course. But this is going to be interesting to see how North Carolina do defensively because, like you mentioned earlier, Orange County has looked the more dangerous attacking, but obviously they don't have their goal. McGuire with 2 huge saves to keep this one level. But let's see if their backline can hold up for what's about to be just an absolute onslaught.
And for my wager, I hope there is a goal of any team at this match.
For a friend or
for a friend. And I will say, like, I hope you guys don't mind me like doing the usual wager publishes at the end of every work week, and then like just me talking about it on the show.
No.
Like part of that. I've only done it just because like it became legal in North Carolina, and like I find it interesting on what international sites think of what they see the USL.
That was no, I seriously don't mind. I think it's because I'm not in that world that much. I just sometimes you see those odds they get posted and I'm like, who did this? Like, what are you like? That's not real. What are we doing?
I
A
mean, I
couple
will
years
say I
ago,
use a betting service that has odds down to the Aruba Premier League, who offer odds for Bahamian football or for football
oh,
in Nepal. But like, it shows that like USL is still like, I feel like if you go through everything, it's off the radar enough that you can still find an edge on everything. But the fact that it's being offered is just like it elevates everything. Like I remember, like we're talking about how much the league has grown in the last decade. Like I remember watching USL on YouTube streams when like the chat was filled with people who were
just
either like following specific players on some of the teams, people who were fans of some of the teams, or people from Portugal and Brazil who were just wagering on the matches because it happened to happen, because the games happened to occur at like 11 p.m. local time for them. And they were just asking us, like, is this like a good thing to bet on? Which it always is.
yes. Oh, woo, Pedro
Ooh.
Dolabella, so close to getting a second goal. That was whoa, wow. Yeah. I loved the YouTube streams so much. There was a couple of US Open Cup matches that turned off the chat for the stream before they went over to Paramount. And I was like, you guys are not getting the magic of what this can be. Like, you are completely missing out on what is supposed to be a YouTube match. Like, give me the chat.
Yeah, I mean, Nicholas Murray saying in chat, like, which team was in which color uniform was like peak USL or kind of YouTube era chat. Like, it was just like a complete just revelation of seeing people from Portugal be like, where is Harrisburg in the United States? Or just like asking, and it's like, what is the significance of Reno 1868 in this country? You know, it's just like, oh yeah, man, it's a big team. I mean, they have Dane Kelly as one of their forwards at the time. But like it just kind of shows that like where USL has been, and from when I started covering the league in 2014 to when it is now here 11 years later, that it's just like a really just like this league is just so damn awesome to cover.
Nicholas, this is a question for USL folks. Can we get Ryan a 10-year service plaque or something? I go ahead.
Honestly, I stand on the shoulders of Chad Hollingsworth, Kyle Kepner, the people who came before me, who like inspired me to kind of get into covering soccer because, like I said earlier in the show, it's pretty much kind of just changed my life.
It's so, and it's one thing. By the way, Evan had to dip because his phone died. Of Nicholas showing off that he has a 10-year service plaque. Think about what you don't have, Ryan. But it's so funny
because USL kit.
It's true. I was his phone died, so that's why he had to leave. But one thing that he kind of talked about was not cheering as much and whenever your team scores. And I get that. I really do. Like from doing this specifically and following the league more widely and following players and following storylines and all that jazz, I have become a bigger fan of just people around the league that I still want Birmingham to win, of course, but I don't like go crazy. I don't get in the supporter section and just lose my mind anymore. It's like Yeah, that was a nice play. Good to see a score. Nice to see. But then I'll see somebody that I've talked to or that I've been following, or we've been following in storylines throughout the week, and I'm like, kind of hate to see that guy get scored on. I like that guy, and it's been such a bizarre thing to be in the middle of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I come at it from a very different perspective because my team originally, the Wilmington Hammerheads, like they left USL Pro USL Championship eventually in 2016. They went to USL 2, which I still attended all of those games as well before they dropped from USL 2. So I feel like I have a very unique perspective where I got into the league because of a specific team, because of a team that I had a very fond memory of, that I still really enjoyed following. But like I've come now to following the league from an incredibly neutral perspective. Like I'm not sure if it's like evident from people who watch the USL show, but like I'm incredibly neutral to every team in the league. Like I have teams that I feel positively towards, but I hope that it doesn't come through in whatever I speak on, because I feel like it helps the USL wagers that I do, that I just kind of look at it, things from a completely neutral perspective, and I'm just like, here's what I see. But like I think it's also from the other perspective helped me in seeing the league as a whole. Like I want to see every team in the league do well. Obviously not every team in the league is going to win every single time, but like I watch more games in the league more than I did if I was just following the Hammerheads at the time. Like I just feel like I'm just so much more connected and in tune with this league, has I mean hashtag with this league for backfield. Oh,
Yeah.
but like it feels like I'm just much more connected into everything that USL was doing, and it's just so much more of a rewarding experience than if I was following MLS or any other league.
Um, we are in the 96th minute, and what's likely going to be the last play of the game. We have a free kick for Orange County in a very shootable position. I
A
would be
dangerous spot.
very dangerous spot. On one hand, you hope he shoots because
I
you
mean, you
know
have to from this angle.
kinda, but you can kinda drive one decently into the back post, and I think you have a decent chance. But you also don't wanna be the guy that shoots and misses it by 20 yards, and all your teammates just have to stare at you when the whistle blows. Man,
I mean, at this point, they would be staring at you for the 5-hour plane flight back.
this is true. Thank God this is not a Bob Lilly team. All
Are
right.
we going to be post match for as long as Bob Lilly is there? Assuming that the Pittsburgh Riverhounds do not need
I
or need that match to advance in the Jägermeister.
So I mentioned about John Nelson and Jason Longshoe. I talked about soccer down here. I did make a promise that we would stay live as long as Bob Lilly is on the field for our post game. I did promise that on that show. So I feel like we kind of don't have a choice. Part of me hopes they win so we can leave. A part of me hopes they lose for the content. Got to be completely honest with you.
If it's a draw, is that just going to be 45 minutes for?
Yeah, probably. Depends how they draw, I guess.
Although no draw, because those games do end in penalty shootouts, so there will be a winner or loser.
I feel like if it somehow goes to penalties, that will be worse than them just outright losing, because he has to prolong his screaming and he has to like build up the energy.
But no, man, that's gonna be so much fun. Like being up there in Portland, and everyone, like if you haven't gotten it yet, the Equip Studios kit that is out there, like go out and purchase that. That helps us get to Portland, and yeah, off the wall, over the net. But
Oh, okay. So corner, we have one last. Now, do you think the ref is just going to? Well, they had players down for a while, so I guess they're going to have some more
I mean, it's
time.
getting to about the 101st minute. I feel like you take the corner and then they'll blow whistle dead, regardless of what happens after this. It'll either be drawn or NCFC will win. If I pull up my Bet365 app, that'll be
Okay.
damn. Yeah. Never mind. There'll be another
Oh!
corner.
Whoa, my word.
Yep. There will be one more corner.
You're just a baby hair ahead of me. But this is that has to be the third time that they have hit the post.
Yeah.
Colin Shuttler in the box. We've seen him score before. Please do it again. Please.
More teams need to utilize a pink keeper kit.
I agree. It's a good color.
Oh,
Is it? Whoa!
another corner kick.
Unreal.
Like I said, more team unrelated to this, but more teams need to utilize a pink keeper kit. I think it's just, I mean, like, look at that, like, shown. Like, there are no corners from North Carolina FC, 22 shots from Orange County. It is just,
Yep, that's the game.
yeah,
Wow.
this is just being FM'd. Like, if I was Orange County, I would say I got FM'd in this.
Wow. I mean, McGuire had an amazing match, but the last 5 minutes was pure cinema in terms of this excitement. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a really good time. If anyone is watching this and you want to watch just a rematch of any highlights, this is the game to do.
Yes. Oh man, that was fun. The last man, that was such a fun last little bit of the match. Ryan, you mentioned it. Hey, check out the kits. Seriously, buy them. It is $50 for the short sleeve, $65 for the long sleeve. We have it's all we get a good little chunk from it to help us go up to Portland. It's a blast. And I have Equip Studios kits, and they are very, very nice. They're very, very comfy. I think people will be very happy with what they get. So, final thoughts from this match, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted North Carolina to get an additional goal to help cash a wager. I know people might be upset about the constant gambling and betting stuff, but no, it helps me follow the league, and I feel like it keeps me more in tune with all USL action. But I mean, this was a very fun match. We had incredibly great guests between Evan, between Hugh. This was a really this was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad to be part of kind of this live stream.
Yeah, we obviously still have a few people here who are still watching. So this is kind of we are going to give you a little bit of time to get kind of an AMA situation of ask us anything, literally anything. So we're going to just kind of filibuster for a little bit to see if any questions come in. Would love to see some. So yeah, there's that. We had Ford Madison 1 Knox. They end up drawing that 1-1. Ford Madison needs to get themselves going. This is a good result in that step forward, but they are way too talented of a team to keep drawing or losing matches. I would be very interested to see kind of what happens if they keep going on the snide a little bit, because they have pieces that are really good. Our trades are still kind of a thing in the USL, but not really. Like, does this turn into almost like a trade deadline thing of we're just going to sell and figure it out and regroup for next year? Or, I mean, obviously it's too early for that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure that teams in USL one, especially like considering that Spokane of all teams had made the USL one final as they kind of barely snuck into the playoffs from last year. But I don't feel like teams need to completely write off seasons so far. But if you're Forward Madison, you've been in the league since 2019. You've been and here for, I mean, no, Richmond Kickers have the joke of like there's more kits than there are playoff victories as well. And like you at some point Forward Madison kind of needs to like show up and show out as well. Or if you're kind of looking to be a true team within the league. And I like Forward Madison. They have Matt Glazer, a former Wilmington Hammerhead player as a goalkeeper in their team and a former coach. But at some point, this Forward Madison team kind of needs to show the fruits of their labor, the fruits of their project going forward. And it's just kind of very interesting where this team finds themselves. And good credit to them to not lose tonight against One Knoxville. I did bet on One Knoxville to win, so that was something to stifle my wager there. But like this Forward Madison team, like at some point they're going to get over the hump. They're going to win USL one. It's just a matter of when, not if, but when is that going to be in the next decade?
Well, we get a question from Luke Martin, which, by the way, check out Luke's work, especially if you're on Blue Sky. I think that's where Luke is now in all things. But get the question, which is how many teams make it out of the Jägermeister Cup, get out of their group? Right now, you are looking at obviously a Naples who is kind of in the driver's seat. Same thing for a Tormenta, which Luke, obviously, you know. Those are kind of the teams that you're looking at. You could see a Charlotte. I could imagine a world where a Charlotte goes through. When you're looking at Group 4, I don't see a League One team coming out of Group 4. I think that Detroit City and Rhode Island and Pittsburgh are too good to overcome personally. I think Portland Hearts of Pine will put up a good fight. I think Westchester has the top end talent to do it, but we haven't seen them click yet. For Group 3, One Knox is your easy guess for who goes through. I think they sort of slipped up by only getting the two of the three possible points with their PKs to Tulsa. Obviously, in that match, they were leading and they give up a late goal, which cost them a point. So that might come back to bite them, but One Knox has a real deal chance. Out of Group 2, you have Union Omaha, but Union Omaha has not shown up yet this year. And if they don't get a win in their next match, I think they can kiss those chances goodbye for this round or for the Jägermeister Cup. And Spokane, I think if Spokane can get through, who is their other Jägermeister matchup out of the championship? Because if it is a Sacramento or a Monterey Bay, they may struggle just a bit. But if not, if they are walking away with Orange County or if they're walking away with a Las Vegas, I feel like Spokane has to feel good about their chances.
It's Monterey Bay, Las Vegas, and Sacramento.
They get all three?
Yes. They only get Sacramento and they only get Sacramento as their remaining home match in the cup. And even then, that doesn't come until we're in Portland at the end of July.
Okay, so that's a big one. Okay, so if I what number would you put on it, Ryan?
I honestly would say I don't think Sacramento get a top 2 spot in that group. I think it will be Las Vegas and Sacramento as your top 2.
Spokane?
I think I don't think Spokane gets a top 2 spot in that group. I think I spoke about it in my recent article this week that I'm still waiting on Sacramento to look like a Neil Collins team. Like every match they've won this year has been by a single goal, but every match they've lost this year has also been by a single goal. It feels like to me they're on the cusp of doing something, and I don't know. I feel like eventually they'll turn it around, and by the time they play Spokane at the end of July, they will have turned it around. They will look like a Neil Collins team. They will look like the Sacramento that we're used to. And by then, Spokane will be out of the position to advance in the Jägermeister Cup. And we'll be looking at Sacramento and Las Vegas as the top two teams in this group. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Las Vegas win this group. It just seemed like they're built to do this because they're so frustrating to play against. They're like Sean Dyche's Burnley and USL Incarnate.
Yeah, I think Sacramento has created the most XG of any team in the league, and they have not gotten the output. So they could be a Brighton 2.0 of let's see how much XG they rack up with winning matches, or it ends up turning into goals. That could always be something interesting. I think if we're trying to put a number from Luke's question, I think that you're going to see, we already said preseason, one of my 90-50 10s were that a League One team would win their division or win their group. I think Group 6 is your best bet. Obviously, you have two teams that are top there. Naples and Tormenta are obviously good shouts. Tormenta we've said it before, refuses to play a real normal match. They've just absolutely refused to. They feel like a team that has the dark magic energy to go through. I think that Group 6, you may see two teams come out of Group 6, and they may very well both be League One. Charleston getting an early loss might be the best thing that could come from the rest of this group, because for Charleston to get out of this group, I think you're realistically looking at Charleston getting 9 of the remaining, or like they need to get 9 of the 9 points basically, because getting a loss here is horrible in terms of trying to get that extra spot. So you very well could see 2 League One teams there. Charlotte feels like a decent shout, so I'm willing to say 2 to 3 make it out into the group stage. I think you're just under half.
I mean, to Charleston's credit, they do have a Greenville Triumph team that I've been sounding the alarm that I don't think this Greenville Triumph team is as good as that we've been thinking from our USL One preview show that I think that we've talked about. Like, I know that they've had that. I know I'm in minority opinion on things that the Greenville Triumph hasn't been as good as they should be, and that they're taking a step back this year. But like, if you're looking at the Charleston Patriot and that, they have the Greenville Triumph, they have Tormenta, and they have a struggling Tampa Bay team as the remaining 3 Jägermeister Cup matches. I think that's 9 points there that Charleston should be expecting. If they get less than 9 points, fewer than 9 points than that, they should be disappointed from that set. But like, if you're looking at a Naples team, and as well, I mean, they have the Miami SC, they have Tampa Bay, they have Greenville. It's like, it's not unheard of that Naples could get the necessary amount of points to advance as a top 2 team.
I think, by the way, where does Charleston play Tormenta at?
Checking. Hold on.
Because
away.
Okay. I think that there's a world where Tormenta works that one into extra time. And at the very least, that knocks off a point from Charleston. I think that Greenville, and you mentioned it, Greenville hasn't been what they should be. I saw improvements versus Richmond in terms of scoring. I don't entirely love their tactical profile at the moment, and maybe the answer is Ropapa Mensah gets playing and they're fixed. That very well could just be the answer. Ropapa plays, they win, maybe. But I like the pieces of Greenville. I think that they have a good tactical identity, but they're not making the most of the players that they have at the moment. I'm not really sure what the answer is. So if you're looking at Charleston, they should get all three from Greenville. They definitely should get all three from Tampa Bay. We've already seen that matchup this year, and Tampa Bay, despite getting a very good draw versus Birmingham, they're not the Tampa Bay Rowdies that we think of in our head. So really it comes down to that Tormenta match. And if that's away, especially with how Tormenta plays, we've seen them so many times. Like I've said, they refuse to play a normal match. They just cannot do it to save their lives. I think you could see Tormenta getting into extra, quote unquote, extra time, into those penalties. And from there, like it's a penalty shootout, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very tough to kind of project what's coming out of the Jägermeister Cup, which makes it so much fun to try and follow. It's very difficult to predict, and it's really tough to say which teams are going to be where come July. I will say for Tormenta in that lead up to that Charleston match on on June 28th. 3 days earlier, they do play Naples at home in the leagues, which I think A, that match is not getting moved. B, I think that really could potentially play a role on if Naples are being very good in the league, which we are currently seeing and expect to see them by June. That could see them maybe rotate against that match or maybe rotate against Naples and then have them play a full strength squad against Charleston. So it's a very kind of interesting situation that they may find themselves in.
Anybody who wants to drop any extra questions, please do so. That's what we're here for. I mean, it doesn't even have to be soccer related. Like, if you just want to know more about us as people, like, go for it. That's what we're here to chat. Another thing that was so funny, like we talked about just kind of making relationships earlier. It is such a random thing to happen, but like, you know, you and I have met in real life, but it's not at a soccer match. It was at a freezing cold East Carolina bowl game and versus Coastal Carolina. And it's like, it was so random because my wife was like, "Who are you hanging out with?" It's like, "Oh, one of my friends." And they're like, you know, someone who went to East Carolina. I'm like, yeah, it's a long story. Just just go with it.
No, I mean that trip was so much fun. My parents appreciated so much that you were able to meet, say hello, provided a 6-pack of beer at the time. That again, I don't get this opportunity to do this on show because I don't drink during the weeknights. But I mean, that was so much fun to see you in Birmingham for that bowl game, for a bowl game that ECU won, which I mean, I still have positive feelings towards and everything. But yeah, I mean, that was the first time that we had met, and it was so much fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person in Portland. We'll have to plan a lot of hotels and everything else behind the scenes, of course. But that's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, I've never had Jägermeister before. And if we have Jägermeister out of oyster shells, that would be something. Or if we're, as John had said, stealing the Moxie the Moose head.
Okay, so I feel like definitely the oyster shot has to happen. What I'm just trying to imagine how the Jaeger oyster shot goes. Like, do you put the Jaeger as a like a cocktail sauce, or is the Jaeger the chaser for the oyster, vice versa? Like, or do you eat the oyster, put the Jaeger in the shell? I don't know. Either way, I'm sure like my body is going to absolutely reject whatever is going to happen.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure out hotels and like booking travel and everything for it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had oysters before, and I feel like you do the oyster, then you put the Jägermeister thing in the oyster and have that from there. To be fair, like to quote everyone, I don't drink liquor at all. This will be, if you are in Portland, this will be a special occasion if you know me. So by all means, come to Portland if you want to see that.
Okay. So wait, now I always get stuck on the fact that you and John had never had Jaeger up until this point, until like last week either. What did you guys do in college? I wasn't a big partier, and I had Jaeger.
I mean, I think it just, I never came across it. I stuck to beer and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I was never a hard liquor drinker. I will say, like, when I was at school, I went to one bar that was like very big into, I guess, vodka like types of drinks. So it just basically mixed vodka with stuff. But no, like I just never had Jaeger. I never had an interest in it until they sponsored a USL tournament and that I could get the podium for the ball if it was in my bedroom. So Rhode Island, Portland, if I can have that, please give it to me.
Who is it? Is it Richmond that doesn't use theirs because they can't?
They don't. But I think the fact that they can't use it means that they don't have one. They were just never sent one. So, Portland, please, can I have yours?
Guys, it's the last one. Just let me have it.
although now we're going up there. We hope it's not the last one. We hope that they're in a position to advance. So there is weight and stakes to that game that we're going to attend.
Yes. Well, I was thinking more or less probably the last one at home because, I mean, they did get an early loss, so it's going to be really hard for them to top that group. So it's going to be the last one at home.
I have faith. I have faith that they can advance.
Man, for the content, I hope that Portland wins because I just want to be on the live stream for Bob Lilly on the field.
I mean, and outside of the Bob Lilly content, we will be there talking to Portland Hearts of Pine players. We'll be there talking to Portland Hearts of Pine supporters. We'll be there talking to Portland Hearts of Pine management and everything. It will be a tremendous couple days in Portland, Maine, in Stephen King's home state. He's from Maine.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Is Susie Collins from Maine as well?
Can't say, but I mean, it will be a tremendous couple days of content and everything up there that it will be a lot of fun. And ultimately, my main goal from the entire trip is let me try on the moose head, please.
Bless. Well, it looks like we are not getting any more questions from the day. So, hey, go check out Kit Season. They are live right now. So, as we end this, go over to Kit Season, check them out. Ryan, it's been an absolute blast. We should do this more often. So, thank you all, and check out all the things. Check out Backyard Footy. Check out Kit Season. Buy our kits, and for the first and final time of night. Here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.